Welcome back to more Amino stuff. This is like my fourth Amino video. So there was the Steve the Kool-Aid dude video I did, the Riot Anverse playlist, and then the comedy spotlight, which is Jew, my underlings series. This one's gonna be a little more serious for me. Unlike the last couple ones, I've added a lot of comedy into it. Just because honestly they were fun to do. It was a great deal, a lot to mess with. I mean, two of them were comedy spotlight things. One of them was just me wanting to do something funny and fun and give you guys something to interact with. Hashtag Riot Anverse playlist, do it. But this one's a little more serious for me because it's about Odd. My main OC on anything is Odd Enigma. As you can see, boom, I am Odd. I'm just a man. It's Noctis. Felt like doing something cool, so there we go. And this is, y'all know an Odd story, Bolting Adventure, and we'll round out with talking about that in the end, because this is going to be quite the lengthy video. I'm not going to lie. Again, on the blog here, an Odd story, Left Behind, part 1 of Wayward Journey. I have at the very beginning, if you'd rather read it on Wattpad, here's the link. There's no difference between this version and the Wattpad version, because after I got done editing things on here, I copied and pasted it back to Wattpad, so they're the exact same, updated completely, hopefully with as minimal grammatical errors as I could possibly get it, and just errors in general. So this is the first part in an Odd story, Wayward Journey, and it's called Left Behind. And now I've been wanting to write this close to roughly when the Memo-Swine arc ended. I honestly don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Maybe 2 weeks after it ended. Hope you enjoy it. And now the reason why I say that is because I became very absent during that time, or during the end, because the Memo-Swine arc lasted for a very long time because we just, I guess you could say, we got lazy and we didn't really do it as rapid as we should have done it. There's a lot of spaces in between scenes which shouldn't have been, and because of that, during that time between when it started and when they finished it and doing other stuff, I was really busy and I couldn't roleplay as much. And so by the time it did end and the campers had already been sent back, I was still AFK, absent, I guess you could say. I was hiatus. I was still on my hiatus, my busy hiatus. So when they were all sent back, I was still on hiatus. So I thought of a brainchild. What if the reason for that was because Odd wasn't with the group when it happened, when Artemis sent them back? What if Odd wasn't with them? What if he got left behind? And it struck me, and that's when I really wanted to write this. And it wasn't until now that I finally got the inspiration, the ideas of how I wanted to go about this story, that I finally wrote it. And here is my promo picture for it, I guess. I mean, y'all know I love to do promo pictures. Actually, I don't know if you do or not, but I do. I really love doing these edited promo pictures for my stories and whatnot. And this is Left Behinds. Granted, I've gotten a lot better since Left Behinds and Bolting Adventures. So here's the setting. During the battle against Memo-Swine, a select few campers were chosen to go help fight alongside Artemis and her hunters. Odd joined the fight alongside his sister Juliet. After finding out all they really needed were children of Zeus's, he started to hold back so he wouldn't get in the way of them executing the plan. During the battle, Odd got knocked back into the woods, hitting a tree, knocking him out of it, which is the scene I start with. This is the beginning of his grueling journey back to Camp Half-Blood. Okay, and again, as I said, I'm going to be a little bit more serious when reading this story, unlike in the comedy spotlight where I went overboard with the comedy and the over exaggerations and stuff. This is going to be more of a serious thing for me because it means more to me. This means something to me in a serious note, not a joking note. There's comedy, there's comedic moments in the story, don't get me wrong. But overall, this story is serious to me because it's something that's happening to my character. It is definitely character development, I guess you could say. Now, without a further ado, here is Left Behind. Odd had been blasted backwards, smacking into a tree. He smacked face first into the snow, knocking the wind out of him. He tried to push himself up after the crazy groundhog maneuver he just pulled off, only to be stopped by a broken branch falling down on him, bringing quite a bit of snow with it. The branch nailed him in the back of the neck, knocking him down again as the snow practically buried him. He tried crawling a bit forward to shake off the snow desperately. Just a little bit. He got out before his sight dimmed and his head... he got out before his sight dimmed and his head dropped into the snow. Once again, as he drifted into unconsciousness in the soft snow half buried. Odd's eyes fluttered a bit as the wind blew the soft snow away. Or the snow away. There's no soft there. He lifted his head up a bit, looking forward, seeing a blurry group of campers surrounding someone. He crawled a bit more again, making it to the nearest tree in front of him. He pulled himself up, halfway leaning against the tree. His vision cleared enough for him to recognize Artemis in the center of all the other campers who joined the quest. He used the tree... Oh no, I got lost because I was scooting back. He reached his arms out trying to reach them. He opened his mouth, but the words he wanted to say wouldn't come out. He pushed off the tree trying to walk forward towards them as he started to see a glowing light surround the campers. He stumbled a bit forward before he faltered and collapsed to the ground. The campers disappeared within the flashing light as he fell down, passing out in the comfort of the cold snow once again. Odd finally woke up and rolled onto his back, slowly flattening out, almost like he was about to make a snow angel. He looked to the sky trying to figure out what the time was, only he couldn't really see with the tree in his way. He slowly sat up, shaking most of the snow from his hair, while also messing with his bangs. He slowly got up and walked towards where he last saw all the campers and Artemis. Once there, he looked to the dark sky filled with the stars and looked to the ground, noticing it's almost as if no one was here at all. Hardly a single footprint in sight when he knew there should be many from the battle that took place. This is too insane. I mean, I can't really be alone, can I? He said as doubt began to wash over him. Odd began to walk faster and almost frantically looking around for any sign of life he could find. Whether it be the goddess herself, one of her hunters, or some random stranger, he didn't give a damn at this point. His back and neck ached, he was freezing cold, and he really needed some food. He quickly looked in every direction at a loss of where to go. Panic was quickly starting to overwhelm him. He brought his hands up to his forehead and squeezed his eyes shut as his breathing was speeding out of control. No, not like this. I refuse to let this... He waved his arms exasperated. Little mishap, get the better of me. Not like this, he said, this time filled with determination as he slowly gained control of his breathing. He brought one hand over his chest and squeezed his necklace for comfort. Just then, he saw a glow from his peripheral vision. He quickly turned in the direction and saw it, but it was slowly fading into the distance. Desperate, with seemingly no other leads to go on, Odd ran in the direction of the strange glow. "Oi, wait up!" he yelled, now sprinting towards it. No matter how fast he ran, he just couldn't seem to catch up with the strange light. Having to dodge and weave all the trees in his ways certainly didn't help things. After what seemed like forever, he stopped running and leaned against the nearest tree. Okay, so this is not what I had in mind, he said, a tad bit out of breath. Damn it, he said, frustrated, and punched the tree weakly. He looked forward, his determination still burning. He clenched his teeth and began sprinting again towards the light. After a while, he actually seemed like he was catching up to it. He finally reached the end of the forest which is where the glow stopped. Gotta say, that was quite the chase. Got any pizza? Or paydays, perhaps? He said, fixing his bangs as he walked around the tree, winded. He looked up and saw who was creating the glow. At that moment, he stopped in his tracks. Artemis stood right in front of him, as intimidating as ever before the edge overlooking a steep hill. Odd knew now to keep his mouth shut if he still wished to breathe, or, stay human. He looked down and took a deep breath. Sorry, he said, and looked back up to her before he could finish his sentence, or really even start it for that matter. She raised a finger to her mouth, shushing him. He complied again, not wanting to die or be turned into some prey for her hunters. On edge, he looked around to see if any of her hunters were around about to ambush him, but they were all alone. He looked back to her a little confused, letting his guard down. I am not here to harm you, or serve you up to my hunters, Artemis finally spoke as if trying to ease Odd's fear. It seems as though you were left behind when I sent your friends back to camp, she said with a slightly amused look. Because you were stupid enough to get left behind like that, I'm gonna make you work to get back to camp. No free trip for you, or pizza. This journey back won't be easy, but I won't just send you like lamb to slaughter. I don't find that to be fair. After all, you did offer your services to help take down Memo Swine. I will give you this backpack full of supplies that should be just enough to last you back to Camp Half-Blood, if used intelligently, she said and tossed the backpack at him, probably wondering if he was smart enough to ration his food. He caught the backpack and took a quick look at it before he slung it one strap over his shoulder. She moved closer to the edge like she was about to leave, done with him, but instead she stayed there and turned to face him once more. Also, regrettably, I've decided to let my hunters help you if they so desire. They don't have to help you at all, so consider yourself lucky if they do. I'm very thankful for your generous help. It's more than I deserve, but I guess I'm in no situation to deny your help. Also, it's a shame about that pizza part. I really could have used that, Odd said with a slight bow and a small chuckle at the pizza part. Don't push my generosity, fool, Artemis sighed, shaking her head. The town up ahead has a boat that could help you leave Alaska if you can attain it. How you retrieve one and use it is up to you, she said, looking at him with slight disgust, almost as if she can't believe she's really helping him in the slightest way. This is the last help you will receive from me personally. Any help afterwards, if at all, will come from one of my hunters if any decide to help you at all. She said and turned away, decided... Oh my god. She said and turned away from him, facing the hill. Odd walked forwards, about to head down the steep hill they were looking over when he stopped and turned towards Artemis. I know, my boy, and you don't really like us, Odd said hesitantly, looking down slightly, then straight to her again. But I will make it back to camp, and hopefully, along the way, I can earn your respect, he said this time with more confidence than he probably felt. Artemis chuckled. We'll see if you can accomplish this bold goal of yours. I look forward to see you try to make it back. Also, try not to make a fool of yourself. I know it's hard for boys to not do that, she said with a straight face, looking directly at him. I will try my best, but I make no promises. Succeeding while looking like a spectacular fool is what I do best, Odd joked. Also, you may have said no to the pizza, but I didn't hear one for that payday. That'll definitely make me act less like a fool, he added, looking to her hopeful. Artemis just shook her head as if she was done with him and his stupidity. Odd turned around and headed down the hill with a sigh and shrug. Can't blame a guy for trying, he said carefully, trying not to trip down. I can, and I will, Artemis said plainly as she disappeared, done with him. Odd sighed again with a small smile, just happy he came out of the encounter still a boy and with supplies. Although just as equally bummed he didn't get that pizza or payday. And here's a picture of Artemis, because you know, picture book, I guess. Alright. Odd had to have been walking for what seemed like an absurd amount of time. After some time, he stopped under some trees and pulled his hood down. He sat down, placing the backpack in front of him. He unzipped a small pouch to see if there was anything in there, and lo and behold, there was. Several different types of candy bars were stashed in this pouch. "There's hope yet," he said excitedly. He pulled them out and looked bummed, seeing as a payday wasn't amongst the candy bars. He laid them out in front of him to see what they had, or to see what they were. Rocky Road, Marathon, Take 5, Twix, and Smooth Sailing? Oh, come on, this has to be a joke. You just had to remind me this quest was going to be rough via candy bars? A tad bit strange, unless it was our hunters who put the backpack together. He shrugged with an unamused face, imagining them having fun placing items in the bag to frustrate him further. "Well, girls, consider this a victory." He picked up the Smooth Sailing candy bar and unwrapped it. After staring at it a bit, he finally ate it. "I hate to admit it, but this isn't all that bad," he said, finishing it, still with that same unamused face. After eating the candy bar, Odd searched the rest of his bag, finding the usual essentials: ambrosia, other medicines, some spare clothes, and some water bottles, plus a canteen. He also found a book titled A Dummy's Guide to Surviving in the Woods. He looked down, chuckling, before looking up. "Feeling the love and reassurance here." "Thanks," he said, a tad sarcastic, putting everything back in the backpack. He took a drink of one of the bottles before placing it back in. He leaned it against a tree before laying his head on it and taking a short nap. After he woke up, he set off to find the town Artemis had told him about. He was starting to doubt that she sent him in the right direction when he finally saw it in the distance. "Oh, sweet sea salt ice cream, it does exist after all," he said, falling to his knees, exhausted and relieved. He quickly got up and looked behind him, feeling eyes on his back. He looked around suspiciously, smoothing over his bangs. This wasn't the first time on his trek to the town he felt like he was being followed and watched. It could be the hunters who have doubts, but you can never be too sure in this crazy, dangerous world. He turned around, holding his necklace with one hand just to be safe. Odd walked into the town, looking around curiously. He'd never been to Alaska, but then again, he'd never been afforded such luxuries in his life to travel freely. He walked to several stores, noticing people staring at him. Or by several stores. The children would stop playing their games and point at him, whispering to each other. Shopkeepers at him like he was a common thief. He shouldn't have been surprised in a strange land. Or he shouldn't have been surprised, as he isn't from their town and is indeed a stranger in a strange land. What was really curious and disturbing was the lack of monsters vying for his throat. After looking around the town, trying to stay out of sight and avoid any confrontations possible, he finally found where all the boats were stationed. Just as he was getting excited, it quickly deflated into horror. Right there, at one of the boats, was a mini army of monsters gearing up for a fishing expedition? Guess we all needed a break, even if it is from killing and causing chaos. Or is there something more to this? Who knows? Or cares? He needed that boat. What better boat to take or stow away on than one owned by monsters? It was a strange lot, to be honest. 2 Cyclops, probably hired for protection. 5 Dracane, along with 5 more Harpies. This is going to be interesting. Odd started to take a step forward when he heard a voice from behind him. What on earth are you even attempting to do with that boat?" He turned around and fixed his bangs, only to see a girl roughly his age standing behind him. She was about 5'7", with long dark hair and green eyes. She had on a pink jacket and the usual blue jeans with some worn holes on the knees. She had a questioning look on her face. Well, you see," Odd said, scratching the back of his head nervous, "I was just gonna see if I could join them." Who are you? He asked the girl, trying to change the subject. Nuh-uh. Ain't getting off that easy. You've been staring at that boat for almost a half hour. If you were going to ask to join, you would have done it by now. If you answer me, I just might tell you my name. Odd slouched his shoulders and then stood up straight, raising his hands in the air, defeated. Alright, you got me. So, I wasn't planning on asking to join them. I was going to try and stow away on their boat to see where they went. And maybe, just maybe, commandeer it if I have to get where I need to. He told her for some odd reason. Haha, couldn't resist. And that won't be the last one either. Just fair warning. Because he felt like there was something different about her. Then, that maybe she wouldn't understand. He hoped severely that he wouldn't regret telling her. Well, anybody could tell you weren't just gonna ask them. I mean, look at them, she said, pointing to them, chuckling. They look like real thug pirates. You'd have to be dumb to ask. Although what you are proposing you're going to do is almost just as stupid, especially alone, she said with a smile that said she thought he was foolish. Alright, yeah. What I'm planning is stupid, but if I'm being honest, it's my only shot and I'm desperate enough to take any shot I see, he said with a desperation in his voice clear. He also now knew what the mist was showing the girl. So the mortals are seeing thug pirates, eh? Then this ought to be interesting, eh, matey? I know, knowing now what I have planned, you're probably gonna stay away. You are probably gonna want to stay far away from me. Don't want to get yourself killed on a suicide mission. He then trying to get her to go away. Yeah, no, not really. If anything, I'm more interested in what's going to go down. She's looking forward to the ship and monsters. Or in her case, pirates with no fear. I think I'll watch your little show you have planned. See if you die, or maybe even join you so you don't die foolishly. Was all he could get out, staring at her, shocked at what she said. I'm not sure how good of an idea that is, he finally managed to get out. I can say the same about your plan. Besides, this, like I said, what you want to do isn't really a one-person job. Alone, it's a suicide mission. It's not like you're a god who can destroy all with a single wave or strike. She chuckled softly like it was the most foolish idea ever. Oh, yeah, totally. Not a god in any form whatsoever. He laughed nervously, shifting slightly. He sighed and looked straight at her as she still looked towards the boat as if thinking how to go about it. Look, I'd rather do this alone and die than bring you along just to up my odds a little. Yeah, as you can see, it didn't take me long to bring up that pun again. The possibility of us both dying is still fairly high. No offense, but I don't want to be the reason your friends and family can no longer see you. I don't want to be the reason you can no longer be a part of this world. It just wouldn't be right, he said seriously, still looking at her. The girl looked down as he spoke to her, and then slowly raised her head to meet his eyes. He could see her eye roll as she raised her head. Listen, your little hero act is cute and all, but my mind is set. I'm gonna help you. Besides, I don't have any of those to worry about me. If I'm missing, I'm pretty much alone up here, she said, looking back to the boat. You don't have to worry about depriving me of somebody's world. You do, however, have to worry about doing this without dying and looking like a fool. I'm your best bet at that, she finished, looking back at him a little irritated. It quickly faded, though, as a small smile formed. My name's Eleanor, by the way. Man, you are dead set determined to do this, aren't you? He asked, rubbing the side of her neck. Eleanor shifted a little, looking down and then back to Odd with her fists clenched. You're damn right I am. I'm not some defenseless schoolgirl, you dope. I can handle myself in a fight probably better than you can. Now tell me your name. She loosened her fist as she finished, looking a little annoyed. My name's Odd, he chuckled lightly as he told her. Why do you want to help at all? He asked curiously. You don't even know me except for the fact I always come up with and will do some of the most stupid things, he joked a little. Because I knew from the moment I saw you, you were different. I want to prove that I am right. She then looked down and turned her head away from him before whispering, and that they were wrong. Thanks for the vote of confidence, I guess, he said, looking back to the town. They aren't gonna stay there forever, he said with a sigh and looked back to her. So, when are we gonna do this? Eleanor's face brightened with a smile. Give me 10 minutes and I'll be right back with a couple of things to help us, she said as she ran off into town. Odd sat down at the edge as she disappeared into the distance. He placed his backpack at his side and studied the boat. What the hell did I just do? He said, surprised with a small smile. And again, like I said, I couldn't help myself. I made a little collage showing Eleanor off. You know, I went online and just found a couple pictures that I thought would best represent her look. Until I found one person to actually be the definitive of her, and I don't think any of these are her. It's quite funny though. But I really do love that picture. You know, it's pretty awesome, I think. Odd was sitting there with his eyes closed when he felt a hand touch his shoulder. He jumped a little and looked up to see Eleanor. Oh, sea salt ice cream, thank goodness it's just you. He said, relieved. So, what'd you bring? He asked with a smile, standing up, excited to see what she brought. He also noticed she changed her clothes. She was now wearing a black and blue hoodie with a gray shirt underneath. And some black capri pants. She also put her hair in a ponytail. She set down her backpack and pulled out some intriguing items. She had some small pellets and a knife that was yellow for some weird reason. Just things to help us in a jam and weapons so I can defend myself. Want one? She asked, looking up to him. Nah, I've got a weapon hidden up my sleeve, he said, holding his necklace, smiling back. Thanks for offering, though. Just then, she quickly stuffed everything back in her backpack and quickly put it on. They're getting a move on, and so should we if we are going to get on that boat, she whispered, yelled at Odd, and ran down the stairs. I swear, this girl, he said, before running down. Oh, crap. Hello, be nice. Be comfortable. Oh, there we go. That's much better. Much more comfortable. Now, where was I? They made it down the stairs and down the road towards the docks where the boat is. Once they got closer, though, Eleanor seemingly stopped and crouched. Odd kept walking and was about to be in view of the Cyclopses, who were on the boat when she grabbed his wrist, pulled him back, forcing him to crouch. He looked to her and saw her face scrunched up like she did or saw something she didn't want, but it quickly went away. Remember when I said to not act like a fool? Yeah, walking out there in plain view? It's very foolish, she said, looking at him like he was stupid. Yeah, I had it handled, for sure, he joked, trying to hide his stupid action. Oh, bother, she said, shaking her head, then looking to the sky. What did I do to deserve this? Finally, something interesting, and it's with a twit, she said, deadpanning, looking back to him. Oi, that hurts, he said, holding his chest, pretending to be pained. You'll get over it, she said, laughing a little, and moving closer to the docks, still crouched. Yeah, sure I will, he muttered to himself, following her. She peeked around the corner of the wooden railing, and after a while, she was just about to move when he poked her back. Not yet. I'm going to swim to the end of the dock and distract them. You sneak on the boat, and once they both come towards me, he rolled back towards the edge and about to jump in. Wait, what if you can't get both of their attentions? She asked curiously to see if he had a backup plan. Improvise, he said with a shrug, smiling, and swiftly went into the water. What's adult? She said to herself, rolling her eyes, looking back to the dock. Odd swam around to the end of the dock and used his powers to splash some water all the way onto the dock. He succeeded in getting their attentions. Both of them walked off the boat, and they went to opposite ends of the dock. In a panic, he shot up more water near the end, hoping they'd both inspect it. Both Cyclopses looked in the direction and started towards the end of the dock. Man, I used dock way too much in this paragraph. Once he was sure they were both going to it, he swam under the dock and went underwater just in case they looked over the edge. Eleanor sighed, relieved his plan worked, and as quietly and quickly as she could, she easily got on the boat. It was a pretty good-sized boat, easily held 2 floors and its own steering station. The bottom was the sleeping quarters and probably the bedroom. The bathroom, not bedroom. Maybe a lunchroom and a kitchen. The second floor was the main open boat part, such as the stern and bow, and the middle was a single room that seemed to have a pool table and some chairs and a couch. Basically a lounge. Above that was the steering station that had stairs leading up from outside the lounge area. Once on, she headed towards the door that led down into the sleeping quarters. As she was walking towards the stairs, she pulled out her knife that had been painted that color to hide what it was really made of. She started her search for the Dracanae and harpies. Again, little cool fan art picture. Alaska, the land beyond the gods, because you know that's where they're at. They're in Alaska. You didn't see that picture. You didn't see it all. Ooh, now we get... Okay, you saw it. It's a Cyclops. Whatever. I'd seen the Cyclops bend over the ledge, looking in every direction. He couldn't hear the words due to the water, so he sent a gush of water over the left side of the dock, knocking one of the Cyclopses off. The Cyclops fell in so quick, so he, Odd, quickly swam to him, uncapping his sword, ready to strike, and the Cyclops punched him back. The Cyclops yelled in rage before it charged him with full force. Odd quickly swam down, avoiding it, and slashed upward, striking the Cyclops in the foot. Cyclops swung his fist down as he quickly used his sword to block it. The force from the blow sent him further down. He flinched from the impact of the strike. The Cyclops showed his frustration towards his defiance. In a hurry, Odd used the water, making a spinning vortex, to propel himself up faster than he could swim. He gripped his sword tighter as the Cyclops also charged him. Seconds before impact, he thrusted his sword straight into the Cyclops' chest and pulled his sword upward, making sure he was finished. As in the Cyclops, was finished. The Cyclops disintegrated as he looked up to the dock, worried. And again, there's just the coolest Cyclops fan art picture I can find on Google. Eleanor stepped inside the first room cautiously and looked around. Her eyes eventually fell into the harpy, who was sleeping in the bed. In one fell swoop, she quickly disposed of the harpy as quiet as she could. She took a couple of deep breaths and moved on to the next room, where another harpy lay. Like the last time, with no hesitation, she disposed of the harpy. As quietly and quickly as she could, she moved into the next room, where 2 Dracanae were sleeping. She moved to one of their bedsides, looked down, and disposed of the first one. She was so focused on the Dracanae, that she didn't notice the other one stir and sit up. She turned around and saw the wide-eyed Dracanae, who screamed horrified with a look to match. The look didn't last long, as it quickly became rage within a second. Eleanor didn't waste a second, though, as she threw her knife straight into the monster's heart. But the damage had been done. The scream washed over the rest of the rooms, waking up everybody else who was left. She quickly got her bow out and nocked an arrow. Just then 2 harpies burst through the door, but the first one was immediately met with an arrow, and without a second thought or wasted motion, another arrow was nocked. She fired the shot and hit the second harpy as it was feet away from her. Pathetic, Eleanor said coldly. Just then, the last Dracanae walked into the room. The first one tissed her as they all shook their heads disappointed. And there's just a cool fan art picture of the harpy that I found. If you know me, then the next one's gonna be the Dracanae fan art picture. Back to Odd again. Odd swam to the surface as quickly as he could. He pulled himself up on the dock and fixed his bangs. He was quickly punched 20 feet back into the water. Still dazed and confused, he could see a blurry Cyclops raging towards him. Cyclops pummeled him down with several punches. As he floated down, the Cyclops charged him once again and slammed him all the way down at the bottom, knocking the sword out of his hand. As the Cyclops snarled in disgust, he managed to get his legs up to double-kick the Cyclops away, long enough for him to regain his sword. Odd stared at the Cyclops, ready for it to charge any minute. Just as the Cyclops was about to move, though, he started to create a swirling vortex around it, and launched the Cyclops even further back. He then swam quickly to him and slashed at the Cyclops' arms before it could regain its bearings. Once the Cyclops did, it backhanded him away, looking at the scratches the sword made. It snarled and charged him again. This time, he swam behind the boulder and used the water to knock it towards the Cyclops, crushing it. Odd sighed, thinking it was over, when the boulder went flying at him. He ducked under and pushed off the ground, swiftly keeping his motion, preparing his sword as he charged the Cyclops. He slashed at its legs and stabbed his sword in the back of its kneecap. The Cyclops elbowed him in the face, desperately knocking him back and screaming in pain. He flew back into the boulder that was tossed. He kicked off of it to get more momentum, tightly gripping his sword. He used the water to push the Cyclops, tripping him up, allowing him to jab his sword in the Cyclops' stomach. But before he could torque it, the Cyclops punched him in the face, knocking him halfway to the boulder. The Cyclops pulled out the sword and tossed it further away from Odd. He swam back to the boulder as the Cyclops was busy doing that. He leaned against it and motioned for the Cyclops to bring it. The Cyclops looked back in time to see him motion. At the sight of him, it bellowed and raged at his audacity, charging him. He used the water once more to lift the boulder in the air. He swam up, avoiding the Cyclops' charge. It stopped abruptly and turned around, screaming at him. Just then, he pushed the boulder back down, using the water, trying to crush it. The Cyclops caught it and struggled to hold it up as he continued to add force on the boulder. After a minute, he stopped pushing down on the boulder and started towards his sword, swimming as fast as he could. He picked it up and propelled himself at the Cyclops, again using the spinning vortex, to speed his way over to the Cyclops, who was still holding up the boulder. The Cyclops finally got rid of the boulder, overcoming exhaustion. A second later, after getting rid of it, Odd finally slammed into the Cyclops, his sword jabbing into the Cyclops. That was real on the chest, Cyclops' chest, right through the heart. He pulled it out and the Cyclops disintegrated. He floated up to the surface, exhausted from the battle. He just laid there in the water, trying to regain his energy. And there's the Dracane! Eleanor stared at the three with raised eyebrows. "Oh, darling, what a mess you have caused on our boat," the first one said calmly. "But now you must meet your punishment for ruining what was supposed to be our week," the second one screamed, angry. "There's 4 of us and only 1 of you. Our boys outside probably already finished yours off. Then there'll be 6 of us," the third one said smugly as the final harpy entered the room. "Is that supposed to scare me?" Eleanor asked. "Because trust me, none of you scare me. Also, he may be adult, but I doubt they will beat him. He's tougher than his stupidity leads on." Interesting. Though I must ask before we kill you, what on earth is a hunter helping a boy for? I must say, that is quite an unusual team, the first one laughed. "No, just kill," the harpy blurted out. Now, no need to rush," said the third one as the second one paces impatiently. "You're a little too confident for a 1 hunter in a 4-on-1 situation." "It's the wrong form of yar. I'm ashamed of myself." "I'll fix it later," she noted with a smug look. Oh come, she's just stalling for time so her dog can come to her aid," the second one yelled. Just then, Eleanor quickly knocked an arrow and shot the second one in her leg. "I sure as hell don't need him to beat you losers," she said, and shot another arrow through the harpy's wing, giving her time to grab her knife. Just then, As she did, the first Drakini charged her. As the third one went to the second's aid. "You stupid," the first one tried saying before Eleanor punched her straight in the face and then used her legs to sweep her off her legs. Sweep her off her feet. Once Eleanor got up, the harpy was haphazardly flying at her, if you want to call it that. As the harpy reached her, Eleanor grabbed a hold of the wings and slammed her against the wall, sticking the knife in her, taking her out. Eleanor then rolled backwards, avoiding the second one, who jumped at her. The second one collided with the wall and was holding her both her leg and head. Eleanor stood up, elbowing the third one, who approached her in the face, as she knocked an arrow and let it fly into the second one, finishing her. Just then, the first one speared Eleanor into the hallway. Once they slammed into the wall, she dropped her knife and they scrambled further down, trying to gain the advantage over the other. Eleanor kneed her in the gut, hoping to break free, but she had a strong grip. The first one slammed Eleanor's head into the wall repeatedly. Eleanor was desperately reaching for her arrow, scratching and clawing for it when she finally got it. She jabbed it into the first one's neck. Eleanor then slid down the wall, gasping for breath as the first one disintegrated. She rolled onto her back, only to see the third one finally leave the room, rubbing her broken nose. Just then, the third one was about to strike a tired and exhausted Eleanor as Odd came bursting through the door, missing his jacket and a torn shirt and ripped jeans, holding his sword, the Hardy. The third Drakini, paid him little attention, looking to him for only a second before focusing back on Eleanor. He charged the third one as Eleanor tried to reach her bow. He swung his sword, backing the third one up. Odd then helped Eleanor up, now with bow in hand. The third one took this time to pick up Eleanor's knife, as she quickly threw it at Eleanor. At the same moment, Eleanor also fired an arrow at the third one. Odd quickly stood in front of her after she fired her arrow. The arrow and knife went past each other without touching. The knife went into his right shoulder blade on his back as the arrow found its mark in the third one's forehead. Odd collapsed to the ground as the third one disintegrated. He scrunched his face in pain. "Talk about a stabbing pain," he said, making light of the situation. Eleanor just stood there, shocked at what he did. Shocked he did that. "Why did you do that? You didn't have to," she asked incredulously staring at him. "Oh my God." "Simple," he said, struggling to get up, his face grimacing in pain. "We're a team, aren't we?" he asked, looking straight to her, seeing her shocked face for the first time. He glanced down, not saying anything at all. "One tiny thing you forgot to tell me was that you were one of Artemis's hunters," he said, laughing a little, running his hand through his hair. "That probably would have helped, you know," he said, finally using the wall to walk now. I didn't want you to know at first, but I knew the cat would come out of the bag sooner or later. I was like, "Hey, where do you think you're going?" She asked, annoyed. Man, I keep using the wrong "your." It's annoying. "I'm going to the water so I can heal this knife wound so we don't have to waste ambrosia on it. Also, another reason I was primed to take the knife instead of you," he said, still grimacing a little. "You won't make it up them stairs very well. So," she said, moving closer to him. He held his hand up, stopping her, facing away. He held his hand up, stopping her, facing away. That other... "Look, I know you really don't want to touch or be near me. I can do this without your help. That way you won't be in any discomfort," he said lowly, like he was losing energy fast. She put an arm around him to help him. I'm definitely gonna have to fix a lot in this one little paragraph section. "Look, I may not want to, but we have to do stuff we don't like standing in front of a flying knife. I can handle this, alright?" she said, helping him up the stairs into the dock. "Besides, what are partners for if they can't help you upstairs when you were literally stabbed in the back?" she said with a slight laugh as they made it to the end of the dock. Man, to think this is only the beginning, Odd said, kneeling down at the edge of the dock, and then just fell into the water. The beginning of an unlikely team that'll triumph over all odds, she said with a slight chuckle, looking to the stars. And this is the cover of the whole story, an Odd Story, Wayward Journey. Left Behind is just part one of the Wayward Journey. Wayward Journey is the whole thing, and Left Behind is just a part. So that's Left Behind. The first part in an Odd Story, Wayward Journey. Bolting Adventure was a test of sorts for my hashtag an Odd Story, being just as short of some circumstances Odd had gotten himself into. Now with Wayward Journey, I'm taking it a step further, a story on a much more grandeur, epic, more grueling, and longer story. In the next part, our strange duo departs from Alaska on a boat headed towards the contiguous states. Stay tuned for part 2, Rush Hour. And yes, enjoy that GIF. PBG. Peanut Butter Gamer. Ta for now. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that is an Odd Story, Left Behind. And honestly, I'm quite proud of it. I'm about to go fix those grammatical mistakes in that last section where it was very just one right after the other rampant, mostly your and some redundant stuff that I've got to get rid of. But either way, that is Left Behind. I know this was a bit of a long one. Hope you weren't too bored through it. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you thought of it. And I hope you'll have a great day. Remember, only you can be the best you can possibly be. If you like the video, give it a like, comment if you like, be super special, subscribe if you haven't. That'd really help me out. And ta-ta for now.